Can I start?
हम
Okay.
1, 2, 3 camera. You want this? Camera action.
Welcome to the Theflopshow, Parth. Let's dive into the basics first. We want to know who Parth Gupta is and like what a day in his life looks like.
Parth Gupta is me. I am a chef. I am also the founder of my cafe, which is called Bloom Cafe and Cakery. We are one of the first all-vegetarian premium cafes of Delhi. We serve everything eggless and everything is gelatin-free as well, which is very uncommon in patisserie and desserts. We have 3 outlets in Delhi, which is, so we started with Khan Market, then we expanded to Aurobindo Market and to Vasant Vihar. And recently, only 3-4 months back, I started my catering company as well by the name of Lavender Flavors. And oh yeah, you asked me what a day in my life looks like. Well, that's very interesting because that's the thing that I love about my job, that every day is very, very different from the previous day that I have. As a single entrepreneur, like everything is being done by me. Most days I would be sitting in one of my cafes doing some planning or doing some event work or some upcoming collaboration work. Other days I'll be in the kitchen when I have to design new menus, I have to make new desserts, trial for new seasonal menus and stuff like that. So yeah, I can be found either in the kitchen or in my cafe, or if I have an event, I will be at the event.
So Bloom Cafe is 100% egg-free cakery. So what was the motivation behind it? Because I honestly have struggled throughout my life to find a good cheesecake or a tiramisu. But everywhere where you go, tiramisu is definitely, it has egg in it. But for cheesecake also, if you want to try, it's like you have egg, and even if it's egg free, the quality is not up to the mark. But Bloom Cafe cheesecake, it's like amazing and it's egg free. So what was the motivation?
And also I would like to add something to that. Like we want, like if you're talking about Bloom, so first we'll address that कि Bloom Cafe की शुरुआत कैसे हुई? Like considering the fact that you don't have a family history in the F&B industry, so like how did you navigate in those early years? Validation किससे मिली कि मतलब हाँ खाना अच्छा बन रहा है? So something about how did you start?
Well, both of these questions have a common answer. It is kind of a journey. So my family is, again, it's not an F&B. They're jewelry designers and one of the leading in the city and in India, of course, now. But at the same time, I had my passion. My mom used to bake a lot without eggs when I was a child. And I used to love helping her out in the kitchen. I used to bake with her. I used to make food with her. So the passion kind of grew. And when I was like a little older, I wanted to make things on my own to surprise her, maybe for her anniversary, maybe for her birthday or stuff like that. So that's when I started baking on my own. But then when I started baking on my own, I really did feel the challenge because I already had some recipes, but those were with my mom in her drawer. So I don't know, like, how do I do this? And I started Googling recipes, and every recipe had an egg or an egg yolk or something like that. So I was like, oh my God, how will I make this without the egg? And that's kind of what pushed me to start experimenting with the egg-free range. With the cafe that I started, it was more of a gap that I identified. I started talking to a lot of vegetarians regarding that, and I found out that they were vegetarians and they didn't eat eggs, but they did eat eggs in cakes. If I go to find an eggless cake, I would not find anything. And even if I do find something, it will not be good quality. And it was kind of that, okay, it's not visible, so it's fine with me, but I do have to eat eggs if I want to enjoy this. That's when it sparked me that, okay, if I create a product which doesn't have eggs, but it's equally good or even better, then they don't have any reason to eat the eggs. And that's when I kind of formulated the strategy of making Bloom. And that's when I also found a lot of my clients who always come to me and they say that, okay, you know, we had to eat eggs in our cakes, but we hated it. And now that we found an alternative, which is egg-free and which is equally good, we are more than happy to be here every day. So yeah, that's how it came to be.
So you mentioned that you have a family jewelry business. So ऐसा एक preconceived notion होता है ना कि मतलब बड़े होके business ही करना है. Was it an initial plan or did it develop over time? Like, did it start as a passion project or was it always the plan?
That is an interesting question because I had never thought of being a chef. In the UK, the plan completely shifted for my life. I went to UK thinking that I would be doing business management and joining my family business. And I exited the UK with a plan to start my own cafe. You know, you're a college kid and you want some extra money so that you can, you can have more parties. You don't want to ask your parents for your extra money. And a lot of my peers were looking for work in more like waiting, retail, stuff like that. I didn't want to work in those industries because as a college student, I used to cook all my meals. So the amount of cooking that I was doing really pushed me to, enter the back kitchen. And I didn't want to wait. Even if I had to clean the floor or do the dishes, I was happy to do that, but I had to do something in the kitchen. So I did get my food safety license, my allergen certificate and stuff like that in London. And after that, I joined some of the businesses there as a kitchen porter, which is the person who does the dishes, who does the floor cleaning. He's basically the entry-level position of any kitchen. I did that, and I worked at like 3 or 4 places in London. Catering company who used to make sandwiches. I used to work in a juice bar that was in Notting Hill. I used to work at this French restaurant, which was Club Gascon in London, the Michelin star one. So after all of this, I did gather some money out, and when you work so hard for this money, you don't really want to spend it so easily. I could not figure out a way to spend this money well. And I just wanted to give something back to my parents at that time. And I thought that, okay, I'll just buy gifts for them. When I went back, I showed mom all the gifts. I showed mom everything. And she was really, really excited to see that, okay, how did you get these gifts? Like, we didn't send so much money to you. That's when I told them the whole story that, okay, I used to work there and I'm blah, blah, blah. Basically, I had this chef's code also that I showed her that, okay, I'm like kind of working in restaurants now to do this. So she was really, really excited, and I think she spotted the passion and the spark in me. And that's when she presented me with the idea that, okay, if you're so passionate about this industry, why don't you do something in the future? And I think that was the turning point in my life, and that was the question that changed my life altogether. At that moment, I thought that, why not? And then I remember my dad was initially very confused that, okay, how did this just change? Because he was expecting me to be back in the business, and it was only the first year. This was 2019. So, but then he's a very, very supportive dad, and he really supported my dream. And when my family came together with me, there was no stopping. Like, I instantly started looking for places, and that was the turning point, I would say, when I jumped from the preconceived notion of becoming the jeweler of the family to becoming this chef that I'm right now.
That's good. That's how Bloom was born.
Yes.
So, अब थोड़ा business पे आते हैं. There are a lot of people who are passionate about cooking, but they're not aware about the business side of it. Like, they are not even sure if they can build a business out of it. So, some guide for our young entrepreneurs who want to build a business around this industry.
Well, there are 2 people in this industry, I would say. One is the chef side, and one is the entrepreneurial side. And I think you have to decide where you specialize in or where you want to specialize in. If you are an entrepreneur and you love eating food but you don't know how to make it, if you want to build something in this industry but you're not interested in the kitchen part, you can just hire someone who can do the kitchen part for you, and you can focus on your area of expertise. At the same time, if you're a chef and if you're not aware of how the business works and how everything works, and you're not even wanting to, jump into this thing, then you can work with some entrepreneur or you can seek some funding. As an entrepreneur right now, I oversee all the things, but again, I cannot be in the kitchen all the time, and neither can I do the entrepreneurial side all the time. So I have to balance them. I have to hire people who can help me, who are like-minded people, who have the same vision as me for the brand, and I have them for my kitchen, and I also have them for the front of the house.
So you are saying that obviously you have to wear 2 hats. You are a chef and an entrepreneur. There will always be a side which you enjoy most. Like, I was hearing Diljit Dosanjh's interview, and he said, like, whenever he's acting, he does enjoy acting, but he's missing out on those days when he cannot practice as a singer. So for you, I'm sure whenever you are promoting your cafe at events, so you miss out on those hours when you can cook or practice as a chef, but there's somebody who is doing that. Do you get that FOMO? Like, I'm missing out on my kitchen hours. Like, do you get that guilt?
It's not a guilt that I get, but definitely I get a major FOMO. I miss my kitchen a lot of times, and I was discussing it with some friends also that the more I go towards the business side, the more the kitchen side is leaving me. I personally love creating the products, but at the same time, I'm not there to make that product every single day in the kitchen. But yes, I do this one thing that I try to convey my vision and my way of thinking in culinary to my team, so that we all work in towards one single goal. I always tell them how I would make this particular dessert or how I would make this. We do trials together. I make food with them in the kitchen and we taste food together. That's where I go towards the business side also, and I try looking for more opportunities, more expansion plans, more marketing and stuff like that. That's how we work. But yes, it's a very, very big problem you face as a person who is trying to ride on two boats, because it's harder. So yeah, there is a major FOMO. But I do overcome that FOMO by cooking at home a lot. I do cook at home on Sundays for dinners, or maybe when some guest is coming, I would cook them a menu out or something. And sometimes I'm just, tired of the business operations and I just go to the kitchen for 2-3 days straight up and I am just cooking my things and I'm happy. But yes, there is this dilemma of this.
You mentioned, so like if you had to choose, I know like you can't choose, but like if you had to choose between Parth as a chef or Parth as an entrepreneur, what is the one thing that you really enjoy? Like which side of yours is like your most favorite?
It's a very, very tough question for me to answer, because there are things that I like about particular side and there are things about there are things that I don't like about that particular side as well. So I try to be the selfish guy who picks on the beautiful parts of each side. Like in the culinary world, the good side is that you get to create dishes, you get to explore your creativity, you get to taste new food, you get to create new food, you get to serve your food to people and see their reactions, which is one of the reasons I'm in the industry. I love seeing that. So, but also the cons are that you have to be in the kitchen for long hours. It can get monotonous when you're working on a single menu for a long time, maybe like 3 or 4 months. It gets maybe very frustrating that, you want to do something else, but then you're stuck to doing that. So, but then again, that I don't do that. I am not in the kitchen all the time. So I'm enjoying the creativity part of the kitchen. And similarly for the entrepreneurship, I cannot overcome the cons of it. But yeah, the pros are that obviously you can look forward to the business and you're the one who is in charge, who is in control of your business, in control of the finance. You're the one who decides where to expand, what to expand in, what opportunity to click in, and everything brings a new challenge to you. Every day is a new obstacle, which is also fun for me. The cons being in the entrepreneur side would be there are a lot of challenges. You are stressed 24/7. There is no, like, you have to have this sort of invisible switch off button in your head. When you come home, you have to switch it off that, okay, I am off work now, which is really, really hard to do. I would definitely like to say that because I had a really hard time doing that. But yeah, the work-life balance is pretty bad. And yes, it is a very, very tough thing to be in. You have to handle your team, you have to handle the problems, you have to handle the problems of the business, the problems of the market. When so many problems hit you in one time, it's really, really sort of hard for you to understand, to find yourself, to find peace within yourself. So yes, these are the cons of the entrepreneurial side. I cannot overcome the cons of the entrepreneurial side, but I just try to overcome the cons of the kitchen side by just, being the creative person and not being there every single day doing the same thing.
So you were talking about how, some people, they just drop out. So while you were in the UK or in Paris, so were there days when you thought that you would drop out, or you did some things that you never thought you would do in your life?
Well, definitely yes. Not in the UK mostly, but yeah, recently I had gone to Paris at École du Casse, which is by this leading Michelin star chef, Alain Ducasse. He's the highest Michelin star chef in the world. He has 21 stars with him.
Okay.
So yeah, he designed a course. It was a 3-month culinary arts diploma. And being culinary arts and being in France, it had a lot of non-vegetarian also, which was kind of uncomfortable for me in the beginning because obviously I am a vegetarian. And when I went there, the things that I never imagined I would do was cutting whole animals and doing things like filling fishes and doing even weird animals, like, not weird I would say, but like doing uncommon animals which are very uncommon to eat in India, such as pigeons, frogs, rabbits and stuff like that.
Oh my god.
Pigeons?
So yes.
Who eats
And being
pigeons?
a vegetarian doing that, I mean, it's...
Well, in the first week of the course, I was like, this is too much for me to do. And I was really thinking that, okay, I signed up for this culinary course because it was also for restaurant management and how fine dining restaurants work. It had a very good duration of bakery as well, of patisserie. So we had learned a lot of things, but there was also a section of this part, which was also essential to learn as a chef. But at the same time, it was uncomfortable for me. But at the same time, that's when I thought that, okay, if I want to do this, I will have to push myself. I gave myself like a few logics that why should I do it? Maybe because a doctor doesn't love to cut humans in the first try, but like he does cut humans for his life, and he has to save them. And for that, they practice on dead bodies, which is not the most fun part of it.
Yeah.
But they do it. It was a hard thing, obviously, as a vegetarian to do all of this. But at the same time, I think it was the need and the knowledge that I had to gain to become a proper chef, I would say.
You mentioned that you worked at a Michelin star restaurant. So we want to know, like, I strongly believe that, you know, outside there's a lot of racism. So you might have faced some sort of racism, like working at a Michelin star. Is that true?
Well, it totally depends on the people you're working with. Because, I mean, you can or you cannot feel the racism, totally depending on where you're working and who you're working with. Where I was working, it was a French Michelin star restaurant, and it was in London. And the whole crew that was working there was French. And I was the only Indian guy at that time, and I was obviously at the lowest level as well. So I was doing the dishes and stuff. So that's when, I mean, I could call it racism or I could call it the pressure of the kitchen, but they were kind of really harsh on me. It turned out to be good for me in the long run because I was thriving under pressure, and I learned a lot of things about the kitchen. I learned how to be stable under pressure and how to work while someone is yelling in your face. So yes, I mean, you can call it racism or you can call it the pressure of the kitchen, but I think it was for the better of my life.
So what is the longest time that you have cooked in a kitchen?
The longest time I would say would be these 3 months, because this was the course that I
Like
did.
in hours, like for in a day, for how long have you cooked?
When I was in Paris for this course, I used to be in the kitchen from the morning till the afternoon. I used to come back home, and then I used to cook my dinner as well. And I loved cooking for people. So it was not like a very simple dinner that I used to make that in 30 minutes I'm just making something. I used to cook again like a proper meal, maybe for 2 or 3 hours. So yeah, the longest that I've been in the kitchen could be anywhere from like 12 to 14 hours. Also, when I was working in the restaurants in London, that was actually the longest that I was in the kitchen, because that was straight up. Like I didn't have any breaks in them. I mean, we did have lunch break and a snack break, but like we had to be in the kitchen. It was not cooking all the time, because in the Michelin star restaurant again, I was in the lower level. I was doing the dishes, I was doing the cleanup work, I was chopping the veggies. So in that kitchen, I was there for at least like 14 hours, 12 to 14 hours every day. And that's the reason I also could not continue it for a long time, because it was really taxing, and I had my business management course of King's going on side by side as well.
So you have talked about like how a brand should be built, but a very important aspect of a cafe is the menu. And we have seen a lot of places where they have got the menu wrong. So how did you decide on a perfect menu for Bloom?
Well, I think a menu has to have a very good balance of what you like and what your customers like. You cannot be stubborn on what you like, and you cannot be completely given to what the customer as well, because then you'll use your brand identity somewhere in the middle. So for me, this was the case that when I started, I did have some dishes which were not doing that well. They were really delicious. I loved them, my family loved them, everyone that I got the desserts to loved them as well. They were really different from the market, and people were really confused because I had all the desserts which were really exotic. It's really hard for people to try new food. Food is something that comforts you. Everyone is not the person who just want to go and experiment to try something new. So I think having some basics was really important, and that's when I decided to have key basics like blueberry cheesecake, or maybe something like a New York cheesecake, you know, something which people can eat and compare that, okay, I had the blueberry cheesecake. If people are going to your cafe for the first time, then they would not order a very random dish. They would first order the blueberry cheesecake because they know how it tastes and they know that it will comfort them. So they will order the blueberry cheesecake, and if they like it, for second, third, or maybe fourth visit, when they have had the blueberry cheesecake 4 times and they've loved it, in the 5th visit they might think that, okay, I've loved the blueberry cheesecake for the past 4 visits, I can try something new now. And that's how your menu starts moving out, which is what I realized in my journey. So I think it's a very, very important thing to keep a mix of what you like as a chef, because if you just completely give out to the customers, then you'll not have your own brand identity, and you will end up, you'll be bored, honestly, as a chef. So to keep your spark on as well, you have to be building your things, and to satisfy the customer, you have to have some basic things that the customer always finds comfort in. So I think that's how we kind of managed to create a menu. And also, I also believe that there should always be like 2 or 3 hero products in your cafe. at least one, can be your signature, which can be your USP. People should be traveling to come to you and taste. For me, it was more of the croissant and the tiramisu and the coffee that we serve. The croissants we make are made in 100% French butter. We get our butter from France, which is why they are a little expensive also, but they are worth the try. And similarly for tiramisu, we use our own house-made coffee. We don't use any powders or any like coffees available in the retail. We brew our own coffee and we use that to make our tiramisu. And it's eggless, so we have our own secret ingredients for that. But yes, like these are the dishes that make you stand out, and these are the dishes that people come to Bloom for.
So, like, you know, with the rise of social media, the Gen Z is all about the vibe and the aesthetic of a place. So, in this situation, like, how do you market Bloom? Like, how important is the aesthetic of your brand?
I think aesthetic is, it depends on the concept that you're trying to serve. At the same time, I really do believe that if people are not feeling comfortable sitting in your place, then why would they come to you? What was true for me was also that my target was a little younger audience. And it's the era of Instagram, it's the era where people love to photograph their food, they love to photograph themselves. So it was really important to market the whole vibe of the cafe as well. People should feel nice coming there, people should feel that they're coming to some place different. My concept was I wanted to build sort of this oasis in Delhi where there's a lot of hustle and bustle and speed in the city. And you have to, when you want to unwind, you can come to Bloom and suddenly you will enter this lavender color cafe with pastel greens. And by the way, I researched that lavender is one of the most peaceful colors in the world. In fact, I did see a very, very interesting restaurant in Paris. It was a Michelin-starred ramen restaurant. Their ramen was mostly seafood based, so their focus was on Japanese fishes. The interior was that of a fish market. It was completely a fish market. Like people were dressed, the waiters were dressed in shorts and rubber slippers. These seats were actually thermocol boxes. They were like obviously fake, but like very, very real looking fish, which were topped with ice and like name tags. And it was like absolutely as you entered a fish market. And even the sounds, the music, they didn't have music, but they had sounds of the harbor, of seagulls making noises, of like sounds of sea waves crashing the surface. So when you instantly enter a new world, and when you're eating your food, you're literally feeling that you're in this Japanese place, a sea harbor where you're eating whatever you want, and then you have this sort of, the waiters are also dressed in that particular way. So this is an experience that you've got. So I think it's really important to create these experiences as restaurants.
I hope it was not smelling like a fish market.
No, yeah.
that could have been.
Obviously, they have to avoid the part
Yeah.
that the customers don't like, and they can focus on the parts that they do like.
So while we were talking about the social media hype, so one bakery or restaurant that actually became a little too much hype was the Leto Cafe after Alia Bhatt mentioned it. So since you were in the UK, did you ever try their cakes or bakery items? And what is the hype all about?
So I did try the Leto cake. In fact, I tried it way before the hype was even built, because I was there from 2018 to 2021. I had already tried Leto 2 or 3 times. One of my friends from Dubai recommended me. So it was more of a friend's recommendation than Alia Bhatt's recommendation for me. I did like it a lot, and I did get like a lot of inspiration from the interiors, the menu and stuff like that.
Any plans to get that Leto cheesecake, like Leto milk cake in Bloom?
I had that Leto milk cake before the hype was built. I have a Dulce de Tres Leches in Bloom, which is 90% similar to that cake, I would say. I mean, I have twisted it in my own ways, and Tres Leches is actually a classic Spanish dessert, so it's not something they invented. So I already wanted to do something like that with that, and I added some Brazilian caramel to the cooked milk, and I soaked the cake in that, and it really turned out well, and we do sell that. But at the same time, I do feel that a lot of restaurants stretch concepts like these. I've seen that there was this cheesecake in Turkey which was really popular. It is still really popular, and I have tried it personally. It's really delicious. It's a burnt Basque cheesecake, milk chocolate or whatever choice of chocolate that you want on top. But I've seen that a lot of places copy that thing and they want to put it in restaurant. I think somewhat shows a little lack of creativity, maybe, that they just want to capitalize on this new viral trend. I mean, it's fair. As businessmen, you want to capitalize on new viral trends and you want to make money. So either you can take inspiration and make your own things, which is completely fair, and everyone does that. Even the topmost Michelin star chefs do that. But there's one thing that you just straight up copy one. So I think that's really not fair. But again, it's up to each one's choice what they want to do.
Also, you were talking about the plagiarism thing, how, one should not just copy paste a recipe. So these days now, a lot of people are using artificial intelligence, and there's, you can get answer to any sort of query. So how do you see this artificial intelligence taking over the culinary sciences?
For that, I will definitely let you know that I tried it myself and I was completely not satisfied.
What did you
So
try?
even chefs use ChatGPT.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did try to use it because, I mean, why not? If there's some piece of technology and you're just reluctant to use it, you're a big fool, because maybe when internet started and you were reluctant to build a website, then you're suffering right now because you don't have a website which was older and which could be much more larger. So I do try to incorporate all the new technologies into my business, and that's the reason I also tried ChatGPT. But I was completely not satisfied, like completely dissatisfied with the things that it gave me. For example, I asked, even if you input all the things, like for example, a recipe is not just about the ingredients, it's about the temperature of the room, the temperature of the ingredients, the temperature of every single thing that's around you. A lot of factors like humidity, like maybe the water that you're using in the recipe, all of these impact the recipe. First of all, it's very, very hard to input so many details into the GPT, including the type of water, like how do you explain that? So it's really hard for you to do that, first of all, and even after that, ChatGPT makes some mistakes. I would definitely say that. So the recipe that they will send may not work. And even if you ask them to make menus, like, okay, GPT, please give me a summer menu, or please give me like a winter menu for my cafe, they don't know the target audience. They don't know what they like. And even if they tell them that, okay, this is the audience that I'm looking to make the menu for, they would still not understand exactly what the audience would. Eventually, the creative work and this core business work is upon you as an entrepreneur. Right now, it might work well in the future. It might take over this consultancy plans, like consultancy, for example, consulting on how the menu should work and what the menu should be like and stuff like that. It might work better in the future, but as of now, it's completely useless.
So a lot of people who are dependent on ChatGPT for recipes are definitely not going to make something that will taste better. It's definitely going to be like...
They might, but I think it's much better to learn on your own, because then you'll always have to rely on that. And if that gets disrupted anytime in the future, you'll be left without anything, and you'll have to start from scratch.
Now that we're talking about the hardship of like the kitchen and everything, so थोड़ा ground reality की बात करते हैं, kitchen में होता क्या है. So I've heard that kitchen is a very intense environment. I would say like a passive aggressive space to be in, but like with open flames and open knives. So how do you handle that pressure?
I think it depends on the kitchen you're in, but some kitchens are not just passive aggressive, they're aggressive aggressive. And there are fine dining kitchens where we have like services, we have maybe 2 services, and I'll just give you a very simple example. If your restaurant has complicated something like a vegetable cocotte with like maybe vegetable jus and some vegetable caviar on top, some lentil crisps, like there are a lot of elements in this dish. If the dish has so many elements, you have to prepare each element at this all around. So it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of patience. So for like a 3-hour service, you'll be preparing for 4 or 5 hours to just ensure that the service is smooth. Even after that, when the service starts, the restaurant is full, you have orders flowing in, and you cannot make a mistake, because as you might have heard, the chef is only as good as his last meal. Bakeries can also be a very, very high pressure zone when you have like a lot of deliveries to make at a particular time. Maybe like they are very early morning things, like a bakery maybe can start at like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, and then they have to deliver all the products at 7. If they are messing around with the temperature, if their croissant didn't proof enough, if their bread didn't proof enough, they cannot bake it, then their delivery will be late, and then they'll be stressed again. So it is high pressure as well. But at the same time, I do believe that fine dining restaurants can involve a lot more pressure because of also the fires and also this whole heat in the kitchen. And that's when the thing comes into play that, okay, you have to have all the things in place. We call that mise en place in food industry.
So, Abhi, like, I am very active on Instagram, and I've seen like a lot of people coming and telling people what to eat, what not to eat. So now people are really conscious कि sugar नहीं खाना है, we don't want refined flour. How, as a chef, do you deal with this dilemma? Because people want कि ingredients taste same रहना चाहिए, but they should not get that guilt of eating dessert. So what is your
I
take?
have a follow-up question to that. Considering this situation, what future plans do you have for Bloom?
Okay, so I would say that these questions are a little two different questions and I have different answers. For the dilemma, I would definitely say that it depends on the concept. Like you cannot just be, I mean, of course, people are not wanting to eat sugar and everything, but at the same time, especially in India, eating out is still a luxury and not a necessity. You don't eat out because you cannot make food at home. You eat out because you want to eat out. People have so many household help in India that they don't have to eat out. So when you eat out, you really want that, satisfaction and that taste and that, feeling of being happy after eating. So, and eventually there are so many people because of this feeling that they're like, I want the taste, I don't care. So, and that's what drives the industry. On the other hand, I would also say that obviously there is a lot more light which has been shed on this topic. There is a lot more information available, and for that reason people are wanting to cut on refined sugar, people are wanting to be maybe more vegan or maybe avoid gluten. So, and my concept being vegetarian, it's already focusing on sustainability and health. So yes, we do have vegan desserts, we do have sugar-free options, we do have options which are gluten-free, but at the same time we do have options which are just purely indulgent. Again, sugar being, it's almost like a drug. When you eat it, your body wants more of it, and the dopamine that it releases is the thing that people consume sugar for eventually, whether they realize it or not. So even if you make it sugar free, they can eat it, but they'll not get the same high, if you understand. They'll not get the same good feeling that, okay, yes, I had my good dessert and I'm happy to go. And that's the reason the dopamine is also the reason a lot of people do stress eating.
It's like air frying something and deep frying something.
Yes, yes, exactly. You got the point. Like you can air fry your things and it'll taste similar, but not the same. The satisfaction you get will not be the same. So yes, while there will be more light shed on this, but they can adopt it on their daily life. But for enjoying, for eating out, like for the happy feeling of eating out, they would continue to eat all of the non-healthy food also. And as far as the expansion plan goes, I think for Bloom, I have a plan to not make it like a very, very massy chain, like maybe like a Starbucks, which has like 150 outlets in cities and stuff like that. We create our products very carefully, and each product has a lot of steps. So the more complex the product is, the more complex the steps of creating the product is, harder it is to expand into multiple mass outlets. And the less valuable it is also to expand to multiple outlets. It kind of loses its value. The outlets that are expanding so largely almost have a necessity-driven demand. Starbucks gives you coffee, and coffee is almost acting like this necessity or this product that everyone wants to have every time. They're giving retail spaces where you can work from, where you can host meetings. That's the gap they're filling in. But if you're focused on your product more, if you want to build your identity in the product range, then if people travel for your product, they have better value in their head for the product. They feel that, okay, I am going specially to that place to eat that product. So I think it was for me the same case that I didn't want to expand it rapidly into so many outlets. I did expand to 3 outlets from 1, but it's not that I expanded into every single locality. I do get offers to expand into every place and any place, but it's really important to keep your brand identity and keep your vision intact and know who to say yes and who to say no.
That's how you're creating your demand. Okay, so before we wrap up for this episode, we have one last segment, which is the rapid fire round, which is my personal favorite. I mean, how can we let you go without having a Karan Johar moment? So please be rapid and fiery. We'll start.
I'll try.
If you could cook for one celebrity, who would it be and what would you make?
For Ranveer Singh, I would make an Indian dish, probably a fusion Indian regional dish.
Complete the sentence. If I want a chef, I would be a
jeweler.
Oh, one compliment that has stayed with you.
It was a feeling. People close their eyes. Wow.
If you could eat only one dessert for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Shahi tukda.
Oh, that's amazing. One food weird combination that you actually like.
Ice cream and fries.
Any nickname your sous chef has given you?
Bhaiya.
That's so Indian.
If you had to eliminate one ingredient from your kitchen forever, what would it be?
Well, I have eliminated the eggs and gelatins, but after that, raisins.
Raisins?
That was my answer. We were just we were just doing a run through, and I was like, raisins need to be, they need to be out of the kitchen.
I mean, I do like them in particular ways, but Nah, not my thing.
Everywhere.
One dessert you think is overrated?
Vanilla ice cream.
Vanilla ice cream, but it goes with
So
everything.
good, yeah. Brownie, vanilla
Haan,
ice cream,
it goes with
fudge.
everything.
Oh my god.
I could say cheesecake also. Blueberry cheesecake, I would say actually. I can change that answer to blueberry cheesecake because vanilla ice cream is my favorite as well. But like some people are like, oh, vanilla ice cream is the best. I like a lot of other ice creams. But blueberry cheesecake is completely overhyped in my opinion.
I feel gelato is overhyped. I don't like its taste. I don't know, because once you have like the ice cream in India, you cannot eat gelato. I don't
No,
know.
I have an opposite opinion. I
Yeah.
love my gelatos.
Even I love it.
They're much
Even I
smoother.
love it, yeah.
They're much smoother. They have less air in them. They are much more flavorful. I mean, I don't know. I have had only good gelatos. I haven't had a bad gelato. But I have this notion in food that if you're trying something for the first time, you have to make sure that it's from the best place.
Yeah.
Because
That
if you
stays
try
with you.
maybe a tomato salad from a wrong place, from a place that doesn't make it well, you'll never have that thing again in your life. You'll be thinking that, okay, this is like that. This is the case with a lot of people with sushis that
That happened with me. I tried, like, for the first time I tried sushi, I had it from like an okayish place. It was like a college fest something. And I didn't, like, I was like, I hate sushi.
exactly.
And then
Then
I
you-
had, like, oh my god, this is a
Exactly.
new.
Then
Edit it. Yeah. Tried my first sushi with her. And now every week after office, we go to one place.
you have to know where to try what from, because if you try something for the first time, if you're trying it from a bad place, that's the worst mistake that you could make.
Okay, so if you ever had a recipe book, what would the title be?
Global cuisines, local ingredients.
Oh, that's interesting. Your favorite bakery in Delhi apart from Bloom? Actually, I would ask for top 5 recommendations of bakeries in Delhi.
For bakeries, Lavon is open now. It's doing amazingly well. There's a croissant from Paris, my love. Absolutely delicious. Mule Bakery, really good products. Of course, we have Big Chill Cakery. Some of the desserts there are absolutely amazing.
That's like the OG bakery in Delhi.
Big Chill was a popular opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we can skip that because
Yeah.
everyone already has that.
I have heard about Andrea's tiramisu, but it has egg, so I haven't tried it. But a lot of people have recommended their tiramisu.
I haven't tried it either, to be honest.
You're the founder of Bloom. Why would you try some other way?
No, I always try new products everywhere. Like, I travel for food, basically. I travel to, like the recent visit that I was there in Paris for 3 months, but I was not just in Paris. I was traveling to all across different countries in Europe. I traveled all across UK. I visited so many bakeries in London. So I always keep on trying new products to expand my knowledge, to expand my product range. And I do, like, even if the product has eggs, I do try it because I need to know what the taste is like so that I can make the similar product without eggs.
Which, according to you, is like a dessert capital in the world? Like one place where you would go and just indulge yourself in desserts?
Well, apart from Paris, because Paris is definitely one of them. Like, the complexity of the desserts that I tried in Paris were super complex. They were very well layered. They had very, very well balanced. Definitely Paris is one of those. I'd say Japan is also very nice.
Have you been to Japan?
I want to.
Yeah, even I want to. Like their desserts look like amazing. Plus with
Very
cute
different.
shapes and yeah,
Oh yeah, I love Italy as well.
Oh,
Italy is amazing.
Italy's desserts like tiramisu, for example,
Yeah.
is one of them, of course. But gelatos, again, Italian, I
had
love them.
gelato in Milan, so like I'm
we
definitely
have
not
to
for
eat
it.
after this episode. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just.
Also, I had like the best tiramisu in Florence. It was like one of the best. Like its taste still, if I think of tiramisu, that's the one dessert that it transports me. It was amazing.
Wow, that's how we work. Like, if we're able to create this product, which can. Have you seen Ratatouille?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the last scene in that movie? Yeah, we try to do that. We want you to transport to different places with our food.
That's amazing.
And that we can keep as like tagline for Bloom.
Well, I do say this to a lot of people. Like, whenever anyone asks me which is your favorite movie, I always say Ratatouille, because I think as a child I was watching Ratatouille, and that was also one of the life-changing moments for me, because after that movie I started cooking a lot more. The quote that it says that anybody can cook stayed with me forever. It's still with me, and like, I watched. That's one of the reasons I always wanted to visit Paris and to learn there. And when I went there, I was like it was like a dream fulfilled. And I even watched Ratatouille while I was in Paris. So yes, I mean, that's one of the best movies I've seen for like maybe a chef or something. It's a very fun way of putting how the chef works.
If you had to spend one day in Paris, where would you have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Okay. Well, But I think I love the day when I would start with some nice avocado toast at Baguette's Cafe. In fact, for lunch, I would just do some desserts and coffee because there are too many desserts to try.
Yeah.
So there's a vegan bakery called Land and Monkeys. It's absolutely delicious and surprisingly vegan, like you'd not feel anything. So I would go there. I would go to Cedric Rollet for any of their interesting desserts. They keep doing different desserts. I would go to Felipe Contincini. I would go to Pierre M for macarons, La Durée for ice cream. So yes, there are a lot of places. I would go to Substance Cafe for their coffee. And they have a whole coffee experience, which is really nice. Then I think for the dinner, if I am hungry by then, which being a chef, I am always. So for dinner, I would go to, there's this ramen shop called Kodawari, if I'm saying it right. But this was one of the ramen places that has like interesting experience, like whole Japanese vibe. The music is not music, it's Japanese street places, sounds of Japanese streets. So very interesting. Otherwise, if I just want some comfort food, which is Napoli pizza for me, by the way, I would go to East Mama or Pizza Popolare.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Parth. We really had a beautiful conversation and I hope you enjoyed it too.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram for the snippets from today's episode. Until then, The Flop Show signing off.